Lurkers explores the dark side of the online world. It contains adult themes and disturbing content for mature audiences only.
Elizabeth rubs the sleep from her eyes. The group chat is going off, faster than she can scroll. It's too early for jokes, too loud for anything good. Suddenly, a photo stares back. At first, she thinks it's fake, some cruel meme, another awful corner of the internet bleeding into her life. But then, the hair is right. The ring is hers. And the face is Bianca's, her friend, dead. She tells herself it can't be real. It can't. Someone will say it's a joke. But then another picture appears, and then another. While she stares at her phone hundreds of miles away in Kansas, dawn is breaking in upstate New York. Patrol cars roll past houses still half asleep, their lights bouncing red and blue across windows and trees. Officers follow the directions passed along in a call to 911, out to the very end of a dead-end road in Utica. There, inside a car, beneath a tarp, lies the truth of what they've been sent to find. Outside, a young man gripping a knife, his knuckles white. As police move in, he drags the blade across his own throat, an attempt to silence the truth of what's already been done. And before the sun is fully up, Bianca's image has already begun to spread. In a world where connection is effortless, every click feels safe. But online, trust can be deceiving. This is Lurkers, true stories of trust, desire, and how technology, if unchecked, can turn it all against us. Before her name became a headline, before her image was stolen and twisted by the darkest corners of the internet, Bianca Devins was simply Bianca, a teenager from Utica, New York, smart, artistic, feisty, and struggling like so many to figure out who she was in a world that often felt too heavy. Friends described her as shy in person, but vibrant online. According to CBS News, her mother Kim Devins said that, quote, online she could be whoever she wanted to be, end quote, and on platforms like Tumblr, Instagram, and especially Discord, Bianca built her own identity, a mix of anime, pastel colors, and confessions of the sadness she sometimes felt. But her online life wasn't just self-expression. It also made her visible to people she didn't always know well. She drew in admirers, followers, and strangers. Rolling Stone reported that she had what some called orbiters, men who hovered around her online, hoping for her attention, sometimes mistaking friendship for something more. Offline, Bianca was at a turning point. According to Syracuse.com, she had just graduated high school. She planned to attend Mohawk Valley Community College in the fall, studying psychology. Family and friends say she seemed to be finding her footing again, even after struggling with anxiety and depression in earlier years. According to Hulu's The Social Media Murders, her mother Kim also remembered Bianca's creativity. The way she could lose herself for hours sketching, painting, or carefully curating her look. Family say Bianca and Olivia were inseparable, big sister and best friend. Bianca also found a quiet confidence in front of the camera. May Her mentor and a model agency owner who worked with her said Bianca was quite simply a star. With time, her circle widened as she built friendships with other teens in Utica and beyond. Elizabeth, the same Elizabeth we heard from at the beginning, became one of those confidants. They bonded over late-night chats, shared frustrations, and the messy, confusing lives of teenage girls growing up online. But the same light also drew in someone who would not let go, a 21-year-old who Bianca had met online, someone she thought was just a friend, and who began spending time with her in person. She made it clear he was not her boyfriend, but for him, friendship wasn't enough. For Bianca, her 21-year-old friend wasn't a stranger who came from nowhere. He was someone she met online that began spending time with her in person. To her, he was a friend, nothing more. But not everyone saw him that way. Bianca's close friend Elizabeth told CBS 48 Hours, quote, "He was very possessive, controlling. He always wanted to be more, and Bianca had to remind him they were just friends," end quote. At home, though, the picture looked different. Kim Devens, Bianca's mother, told the same media outlet, quote, "I trusted him. Bianca trusted him. We thought he was a friend," end quote. But that trust would be tested on the night of July 13, 2019. Bianca agreed to go with him to a concert in Queens, New York, a show by one of her favorite artists. Inside the small venue, with its dim lights and soft, ethereal music, Bianca found herself with a 21-year-old companion that she met online and another young man named Alex. According to Law & Crime, prosecutors later confirmed through surveillance footage that the group was together inside the venue. And this is where things began to become more complicated. Bianca herself acknowledged it. In a message she sent to Alex later that night, she wrote, "I think he saw us kiss." Meaning Bianca really wasn't hiding where her heart leaned. She liked Alex, and she knew the other young man, the one she had only ever called a friend, didn't like it one bit. Assistant District Attorney of Oneida County, Sarah DeMellier, told the court according to CBS News that this moment was the spark, the point where jealousy tipped into the unthinkable. As the group left New York City in the early hours of July 14, the drive back to Utica stretched long and tense. According to Spectrum News and Law & Crime, he began posting ominous messages online. One included a photograph and the words, "Here comes hell. It's redemption, right?" Another read, "I'm sorry, Bianca." Exhausted from the night, Bianca fell asleep in the passenger seat. She never knew the car wasn't headed home. It was headed instead to the end of a dead-end road. And according to Detective Michael Curley of the Utica Police Department, what happened next was something out of a horror movie. At the end of that dead-end road in Utica, the car came to a stop. Bianca had fallen asleep in the passenger seat. She never knew she wasn't being driven home. According to prosecutors, the video recovered from his phone began with Bianca asleep. The back seat of the car had been folded down flat, and a camera clipped to the dashboard captured everything. Assistant District Attorney Sarah DeMellier told CBS 48 Hours that the footage showed him reaching into the back, pulling out a knife he had brought with him, and hiding it by his side. Then he woke Bianca up and began to talk. Demelier explained that he immediately brought up what had happened at the concert. She recounted how he told Bianca, "You know I saw you kiss him, right?" To which Bianca replied, "Yeah, and I'm sorry." But as Demelier noted, his response was cold. "Well, I'm sorry, that's not good enough." Bianca reminded him again they weren't exclusive, and then, almost weary, she asked if he was ready to take her home. Demelier testified that this was the turning point. As the young man realized their time together was ending, he grabbed a knife. Demelier said Bianca never saw it coming. Prosecutors also described what came after in the video. He turned to the camera and screamed, "Bianca, why did you make me do this?" Demelier stressed it was a desperate attempt to cast blame on her, when in reality, none of this was her fault. Demelier chose not to release the full footage publicly, but later they would walk the jury through it, moment by moment, saying it revealed premeditation, dominance, and control. The police would later also find details that seemed almost staged. A Bluetooth speaker laid on the ground, still playing one song on repeat. According to NBC News, the track was Test Drive by Joji, lyrics about someone caring more than the other person ever could. Prosecutors told the court that this wasn't accidental, it was symbolic. But this wasn't enough for Bianca's so-called friend. Once the video ended, he switched to photographs and then went to the place he knew would understand him the most, the internet. According to Law and Crime, he uploaded photos of Bianca's body to Discord. Alongside the images, he posted a message that read like this: "Sorry fuckers, you're going to have to find someone else to orbit." It was here that her friend Elizabeth, the same girl from the beginning of the story in Kansas, and that met Bianca on Instagram, was able to see those images. And she wasn't alone. An anonymous man online called 911. According to Spectrum News, he refused to give his name. He told the dispatcher he'd seen a photo on Discord of a girl called Bianca Michelle Devins in Utica who looked dead, and urged police to check immediately. As reported by Syracuse.com and captured by police body cam footage, the tip sent officers first to Bianca's home. Olivia, Bianca's sister, answered the door and called for her mother, Kim. Officers explained they had received a disturbing report about Bianca and needed to make sure she was safe. While this scene unfolded, a second 911 call came in, this time from Bianca's jealous killer himself. According to Law and Crime, the recording played in court began with, quote, "My name is Brandon. The victim is Bianca Michelle Devins. I'm not going to stay on the phone for long because I still need to do the suicide part of the murder-suicide," end quote. When the dispatcher tried to keep him talking, Spectrum News reported he snapped, quote, "You're going to fuck up my suicide," end quote. Dispatch split the response. While one team stayed with the family, another traced the call and raced to that dead-end road. Red-blue strobes washed the trees as they pulled in. The car was there, the tarp, and beside it, the young man Bianca had once called a friend, standing there with a knife. As the officers drew near, he began to press the blade hard across his neck, but they stopped him. And in the meantime, just a few miles away, a mother tried to understand what the officers in her house were saying. In Kansas, a friend stared at a screen that wouldn't stop buzzing, and on that dead-end road in Utica, the sun was coming up on a scene that would not be forgotten. After officers stopped Bianca's killer in the dead-end road, he survived. As NBC reported, He was rushed to St. Elizabeth Medical Center in Utica, where doctors stabilized him before he was moved into custody. But online, it was only beginning. The photos he uploaded, raw, violent, spilled from Discord into the mainstream. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all places Bianca herself had once posted, now carrying images of her death. Bianca's grandfather, Frank Williams, told CBS 48 Hours, quote, "These pictures aren't fictitious pictures taken from a movie. They're of a lovely, beautiful girl whose life was taken from her in a cruel way," end quote. And Bianca's mother, Kim Devins, was forced to see them too. She followed, quote, "It's heartbreaking. It's so exploitive of my daughter. I just thought of how embarrassed she would be, how heartbroken she would have been," end quote. Kim pleaded with social media companies to take the images down, but they lingered. And as per NBC News, they stayed on Instagram and Facebook at least a couple of weeks. Each time one was removed, another one would appear. Rolling Stone's E.J. Dixon told 48 Hours that violent images like these, quote, "can circulate wildly on social media and a lot of platforms don't have the infrastructure to stop it," end quote. BBC News also reported that the photos reached mainstream platforms despite repeated reports. And so, the family found themselves fighting a war online. Supporters tried to drown out the cruelty, posting clouds, bunnies, pink ribbons, and fan art of Bianca to push the photos down in search results. But trolls fought back harder, sending the images directly to Bianca's loved ones. According to Bianca's mother Kim in 48 Hours, quote, "They were sent to me. They were sent to various family members that were close to Bianca. Olivia had to take a break from social media because there's always the risk of having to see her sister's death," end quote. The Guardian also reported that the attack was tied to online incel communities and that Bianca's killing was celebrated in some of their forums. So, just to paint for you the perfect picture, Bianca's friend Elizabeth was very clear of the fear this sparked. She told 48 Hours, quote, "We all knew we were in the line of fire, and I was honestly afraid to, leave my house," end quote. For Bianca's family, the aftermath was relentless, a crime that did not end at that dead-end road. It metastasized online, spreading through screens and timelines, embedding itself in the feeds of strangers around the world, and the pain was compounded by a haunting fear that Bianca's second youngest sister, Maddie, might one day stumble onto the photos herself. Before the trial for Bianca's killer could begin in February 2020, he abruptly changed course. According to Long Crime, he pleaded guilty to Bianca's murder, telling the court it was to spare her family from seeing the details of what he had done. Kim Devins told CBS 48 Hours, quote, "He said he wanted to spare us from having to see the details of Bianca's murder. I don't believe him," end quote. Just 5 months later, he tried to take it back, asking the court to withdraw his guilty plea and go to trial after all. According to Syracuse.com and Long Crime, the move enraged the Devins family beyond belief. Utica Police Detective Brian Caramato said in CBS 48 Hours, quote, "We know that he's playing a game with everybody," end quote. And Frank Williams, Bianca's grandfather, added outside of court, quote, "Don't play games. Take your punishment. Give this family some peace," end quote. Then became his attempt to become an attorney with a click of a button. As per Syracuse.com and Long Crime, Bianca's killer even blamed his public defender, Luke Niebusch, a longtime Oneida County public defender, saying Niebusch hadn't visited him enough and pressured him to plead guilty. But Niebusch testified he'd visited 15 times, often for hours, and had in fact encouraged a non-guilty plea and trial. it was the defendant who refused. Prosecutor Mike Nolan shredded the defendant's credibility further during cross-examination, exposing his lack of expertise during any legal process, given how weak his arguments were. In the end, the judge denied his request to withdraw the plea. Finally, on March 16, 2021, nearly 2 years after Bianca's murder, the defendant was finally sentenced. Her family had waited so long to face him. In court, everyone finally had the chance to speak. Kim Devens, Bianca's mother, stood before the judge and said, quote, "With the death of a child comes the most unimaginable, indescribable pain, a pain that time cannot heal. It only seems to worsen." End quote. Bianca's grandfather, Frank Williams, followed with words aimed directly at the man responsible. Quote, "For the cruel manner in which you took my granddaughter's life, for the total disregard you had for a human life, for the callous act in which you posted pictures of her murdered body on social media to gratify your own selfish purposes, you deserve to spend the rest of your life in prison." End quote. Then came the chance for Bianca's once trusted friend to speak. He offered what he called an apology. Quote, "I hate myself for what I did. I'm sorry that I put everyone through this. I'm sorry that I put Bianca through this. I wish I could apologize to her and just apologize and just take it back." End quote. But his words fell flat. Not everything in life can be reversed with a click of a button. Bianca's mother, Kim, was asked if she believed him. The answer was simple: no. Her grandfather, Frank Williams, went further, quote, "Not sincere. Part of his story is to play, 'Oh, poor me.' It's not about what he did to Bianca. It's all about him." End quote. And the judge seemed to agree. The defendant was given the maximum sentence, 25 years to life. Yet, even that sentence left the family uneasy. He will be eligible for parole in his late 40s. In 48 hours, Kim was asked if Bianca had received justice. Her answer was stark. Quote, "No. Justice would be Bianca being alive." End quote. Her grandfather, Frank, added, quote, "But the justice for Bianca now takes a different form." End quote. That form, he explained, became Bianca's Law, introduced by then Congressman Anthony Brindisi. CNN reported on the bill's debut, while the USA Today later noted it stalled at the federal level. It still continues to inspire state-level reforms. In Utica, the city itself answered. According to NBC News, downtown buildings glowed pink in her honor. Hundreds gathered for a candlelight vigil, singing Puff the Magic Dragon, the lullaby Frank once sang to Bianca as a child, a tradition she carried on with her sisters. Frank's words that night were simple. Puff the Magic Dragon. That's the special song. We have said in other episodes, social media isn't good or bad. It's a reflection, a mirror of who we are, what we share, and how we treat one another. But the story forces us to look deeper, because the danger is not only in the hands of perpetrators who lurk behind screens. It is also in the way people consume tragedy as if it were entertainment. Orbiters who never saw Bianca as a daughter, a sister, or a friend, only as content. And it's also in the platforms themselves, massive machines that move too slowly, making families like the Devens fight for what never should have been at risk, their child's dignity. You see, Bianca Devens wasn't killed once. She was killed 3 times. First, by the man who planned her death, a man whose name I have chosen not to give power to here. Yes, that was very intentional throughout the episode, because that's what he wanted all along, and he does not deserve it. He is not the main character of this story. Bianca Devins is. Second, by the faceless orbiters across the internet who spread her final images, stripping away her humanity and turning her suffering into a spectacle. And third, by the very platforms that failed to protect her memory, her family, and her dignity when it mattered most. This is the reality of the digital world we live in, a place where the best of us, our connections, our laughter, our creativity, can coexist along the worst of us, cruelty, exploitation, and indifference. And so, as you listen to Bianca's story, ask yourself, what is our responsibility here? To see each other not as pixels or headlines, but as people. To resist the urge to share darkness and instead protect the light of those who can no longer speak for themselves. Because Bianca deserved better, and so does every voice that risks being silenced online and in the real world. Remember Bianca. Stay aware, stay present, stay safe. This episode of Lurkers was written by me, Frank Battiston, research and story development by Julia Lawrence, and production and sound design by Daniel Erdenevia. If this story shook you to your core, like it did us, share it with someone you love and tell them why. Your ratings and reviews help others discover these stories, and every share helps keep their voices alive. Follow Lurkers on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you'll be here for the next one. Thank you for listening.